Mike Florio saying that's really a money quote from Ted Wells. So explain to me more probable than not here with the Patriots and Tom Brady, Mike.
Yeah, hey, Dan, when a non-lawyer hears that phrase, you think, well, is it more probable than not that it's going to rain tonight? We don't know what's going to happen. There's nothing definitive here. We're talking about probabilities and possibilities, but it is a term of art in the legal setting, and it is the equivalent of preponderance of the evidence. That's the standard that applies in almost all civil lawsuits. Preponderance of the evidence, 51-49, more likely than not, more probable than not. And that choice of words on page 2 of the report, those key quotes from Ted Wells, that does give people wiggle room who want to try to undermine the conclusion, defend the Patriots, defend Tom Brady. Well, they're not saying that it's definite. They're just saying it's probable. And what does that really mean? What it means is it's enough to satisfy the NFL standard for concluding that there's been a violation of the rules that relate to the integrity of the game. And that's all that really matters. There's enough evidence to find that the Patriots cheated. That's the bottom line of the Wells report.
If you were going to bet a week's pay, if Brady cheated, Patriots cheated.
Oh, I think they did. I mean, it's one of those things where you know it when you see it. There isn't a smoking gun. It's possible the smoking gun is somewhere on Tom Brady's cell phone that he refused to surrender for the investigation. But I think that when you look at all of it, you come to the conclusion that something happened. What surprised me, though, is that the PSI measurements from the footballs weren't nearly as glaring as we'd been led to believe they were. And that's where I thought they were going to get them, on the science, on the hard measurements, that there's no way that these air pressures could be where they were without tampering. Those numbers were inconclusive. And really, without the text messages from, Larry and Curly back and forth with all the stuff about Tom Brady and the needle and I'm the deflator, if you take those out of the mix, I don't think you can come to the conclusion that anything happened.
Why did these ball boys turn in their phones?
Patriot issue phones, and there's a requirement in any workplace investigation. One of the fundamental obligations, the people involved, the employees who may have relevant evidence, have to cooperate. That's why I think it's a much bigger deal than we're all realizing with Tom Brady slamming up the stone wall on his text messages, his emails. There's an obligation. You can't get to the truth if people don't cooperate. And this isn't a criminal court where you can invoke the Fifth Amendment. You have to cooperate. And there are specific provisions in the NFL rules that say if you refuse to cooperate in an investigation regarding the integrity of the game, that's considered conduct detrimental to the league in and of itself. And Brady refused to cooperate. And now the Patriots did turn over those phones, but the Patriots ultimately refused to cooperate. The investigator wanted to talk to Jim McNally one more time, and the Patriots said no. That's a separate problem for the Patriots. So the Patriots said they'd fully cooperate, and they did until they decided not to.
What's the commissioner do?
Punt. I mean, from the standpoint of how does the commissioner make this decision? Now that you have the information, you're hopelessly conflicted. Robert Kraft is one of 3 people who determines how much money the commissioner makes or doesn't make. The bonuses that are determined every March. How can the commissioner be fair and unbiased? And this all happened just a day after we caught wind of a Missouri Supreme Court decision where, somebody finally said this whole idea of the commissioner having the final say on all matters involving NFL teams and employees making claims. The commissioner is hopelessly conflicted. And this case, I think, really makes it as clear as it's ever been. How can the commissioner be the one who makes the final decision here? And then what do? Do you bring back Paul Tagliabue again? How do you find somebody who's going to be truly independent and make a decision that has no reflection on the relationship between Roger Goodell and Robert Kraft? It's not going to be easy. He was already in a minefield with this, and I think Roger Goodell is even more deeply in that minefield, trying to figure out how to balance the integrity of the game with the relationships that in many ways drive his status and his ongoing employment.
What's Brady do?
Well, he's got to come clean at some point. And this is just weird that he ultimately chose not to surrender information that may have been useful to the investigation. He can hide behind the idea that it's my personal cell phone and there's information on there that no one should see. There are ways around that. There are ways to harvest that information without anyone seeing anything that Tom Brady doesn't want them to see that's unrelated to this. And I don't know that the average person has realized yet how big of a deal it is for Tom Brady to say, I'm not giving you information that may be directly relevant to this and may show that I knew a lot more than just being generally aware. So, it's a weird spot for him. He probably needs to go underground unless he finds like somebody who'll do an interview and throw softballs. Because he didn't perform well. Remember that press conference?
Yeah.
He did not perform well in that setting. He really needs to be careful about what he does before he talks about this again. And then if he gets suspended, the question is, how hard does he fight it? Because the NFLPA has been very successful against the NFL with the NFL's efforts to suspend players for things unrelated to the integrity of the game. He gets suspended, what do you do there? Do you just take your medicine and move on, or do you fight it tooth and nail?
I'm going to guess he's going to fight it. His agent has released a statement. Don Yee, the Wells report, with all due respect, is a significant and terrible disappointment. Its omission of key facts and lines of inquiry suggests the investigators reached a conclusion first, then determined so-called facts later. Also called it a sting operation. So I'm going to guess.
And it was, Dan. It was a sting operation. This whole thing could have been avoided if somebody had bothered to tell Roger Goodell about the information that the Colts had provided to the league office, and all Goodell had to do was call Belichick or Kraft and say, if you're doing this, knock it off. If you're not doing it, then we don't have a problem. If you're doing it, knock it off. And there are people in the league who believe that Paul Tagliabue, Pete Rozelle, past commissioners, would have gotten that information and put a stop to it before it becomes an embarrassment that hurts everyone.
That Thursday night when the Patriots open the season at home against the Steelers, who's the quarterback for the Patriots?
I tell you what, it's hard for me to not say Jimmy Garoppolo. If it's Tom Brady, then a different set of rules is being applied to Tom Brady than is applied to all the guys who get suspended for things completely unrelated to the integrity of the game. Smoking marijuana, off-field misconduct, as bad as that stuff may be, that doesn't jeopardize in any way the integrity of the game of football. This is a game integrity violation, a failure to fully cooperate with the investigation. I don't know how. When you take away it's Tom Brady, it's opening night, it's the Patriots, it's NBC, I don't know how you can not suspend Tom Brady.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, see you, buddy.
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk.